My brothers and sisters, before we start, I ask you to take a moment. A moment to pray for the brave men and women on the ground, those standing between us and chaos. And let's honor the souls who gave their lives for this homeland. They are not forgotten. We thank God for bringing us together today, for keeping us healthy, and for allowing us to gather to celebrate International Youth Day. The youth of Burkina, the youth of Africa. Youth is a gift. It's a time when we have strength, fire in our veins, and energy that can change the world. But it's also short-lived. Time doesn't wait for anyone, especially the young. So if you are young today, take every minute as a weapon. Use your strength, use your energy, use your mind. Change your life, your family, your community, and yes, change Africa. Children want to grow up to be young, and the old wish they could be young again. That should tell you something. Youth is a blessing, but only if you use it wisely. When I look at the topic for today, I see two words that jump out like a call to action: integration, security. Africa is facing a mountain of challenges, and we must ask ourselves one hard question: is our youth a weapon for development, or is it a burden? The answer is clear. Youth is power. Youth is the engine of any nation's progress. Look around the world. Most developed countries are fighting aging populations. Some are even creating programs to bring back young workers because they know that youth means growth. Africa has something they don't. We are the youngest continent on Earth. More than 60% of our people are under 25. That is a blessing. But here's the painful question. If we have all this young blood, why is Africa still struggling? Why are we still waiting for others to show us the way? We need to face the truth. Our youth is not being harnessed. Instead of building with our own hands, we often watch others exploit our land and dictate our future. But if we transform this energy, our youth, into action, Africa can become unstoppable. And to do that, we need integration, we need security, we need unity. You've all heard about the African Union. Yes, it exists on paper. But what is its real impact? What can we point to and say, this is what the AU achieved for our people? When war breaks out, when millions of African children die, where is this so-called union? A union is not a word. A union is action. A union is standing side by side when times are hard. Look at the wars tearing apart our continent. Ethiopia, which even hosts the African Union headquarters, faced a devastating conflict. Did the AU protect its own home? No. Addis Ababa almost burned while the Union stayed silent. Ethiopia had to save itself. Look at Congo. Children in Congo have been dying for decades. Sudan bleeds as we speak. Where is the African Union's army, its resources, its will? And what about us here in the Sahel? For 10 long years, international terrorism has been eating away at our land. Instead of united action, what do we see? We see foreign powers meddling. Just a few days ago, a country outside Africa proudly announced that it supported a cowardly terrorist attack against our Confederation's forces in Tinzaouaten. Did the African Union condemn this? Did it say one single word? Not even a whisper. I say this loud and clear: if the African Union cannot defend its own children, how can our youth believe in it? Young Africans, the lesson is simple. We must unite. We must build our own integration. We must not wait for anyone. But to unite, we need to clean our house. There are 3 deadly vices we must throw away, like poison, cowardice, betrayal, and incompetence. Let's start with cowardice. A coward is always a slave. Fear is what the imperialists use to control us. They knock on your palace door, smile, and threaten you in the same breath. They want leaders who kneel, who lick their boots. But we are not slaves. Our ancestors were not cowards. And we must not be either. Imagine this. If Burkina Faso chose to bow down today, if we accepted slavery quietly, tomorrow our children would look us in the eye and ask, were you so weak that you let our future be stolen? And what answer would we give them? Cowardice is a disease, and the imperialists know it. They whisper threats like knives. They remind us of leaders they killed. Remember Thomas Sankara? Look at Gaddafi. Look at Haiti's president. They stood up, and now they're dead. They use fear like a weapon. Even some of our own young people repeat these same fears, saying, look at this leader, he died. Look at that leader, he's in prison. It's meant to make us give up. But let me tell you this, we are not afraid. We will never be afraid. When we say the fatherland or death, we will win, we mean it. It's not just a slogan, it's a promise. Fear leads to betrayal. A coward will always betray his people to save himself. History shows us this again and again. Africans were sold into slavery because some of our own betrayed us. Colonialism survived because some Africans chose gold over freedom. Take Patrice Lumumba. He dared to stand for Congo's independence, and what happened? He was betrayed by his own people. Belgian cameras filmed his humiliation to show the world that Africa's strongest voices could be silenced. Or look at the Bamileke and Bassa people in Cameroon during the 1950s. They rose up against French colonizers with nothing but courage. The French sent tanks, helicopters, and burned entire villages. Thousands were slaughtered. Why? Because they dared to ask for freedom. These are not just stories. They are warnings. If we betray each other, we will fall. We are the children of heroes, of Sankara, of Lumumba, of countless unnamed warriors. What will history say about us? Will it call us the generation that rose, or the generation that sold out? Victor Biaka Boda of Côte d'Ivoire is another name you should never forget. He fought the French imperialists with fire in his heart. They hunted him down, murdered him, and then used fear to silence others. Even great leaders like Félix Houphouët-Boigny were scared into submission after seeing Biaka Boda's fate. Fear is the favorite tool of imperialism. They use it to create traitors, to kill courage before it is born. But let me tell you this, we are not afraid of death, because death for freedom is life for our children. The third evil we must crush is incompetence. This one is deadly because it hides in plain sight. Too many of our institutions are filled with people who cannot deliver, who block progress because they fear those who can do better. Incompetence ruins nations. It destroys innovation. Think about it. How many brilliant young Africans are ignored because someone in power feels threatened by their ideas? The incompetent fear change. They prefer the easy road, the road of excuses. We must be different. We must seek knowledge. We must work. We must become the experts our nations need. Look at how we spend our time. A young man posts about his farm or a scientific project, and maybe 1,000 people watch. Another person posts a silly video, and millions click. Why? Because we're distracted. The imperialists want it that way. They flood us with noise, with entertainment, with anything to keep us from thinking about work and progress. I'm not saying don't enjoy life. But work must come first. Youth is short. Don't waste it scrolling through useless distractions. We need to open our eyes to words like democracy and freedom. They use these words like weapons. How can you claim to bring democracy by bombing countries and killing millions? That's not democracy. That's dictatorship disguised with a smile. They call us coup leaders because we refuse to bow. If this is their version of democracy, I say loudly, we don't want it. Freedom is not an individual thing. If everyone does whatever they want, society falls apart. Freedom means rules that protect everyone, not just one person. If you run a red light because you think you're free, someone else will crash into you because they think they're free too. That's chaos, not freedom. Freedom is collective. It's built on respect for one another. To win this battle, we must know our history. Not the history they wrote to glorify themselves, but the truth of Africa's struggle. We must read, question, and search for the voices of our heroes. I won't end this message without addressing one of the most powerful weapons used against us: communication. The imperialists control narratives like puppeteers. They twist the truth and paint villains as heroes while turning freedom fighters into criminals. One headline from their media can crown you king today and strip you down to a beggar tomorrow. Young people, we must learn to separate lies from truth. The media machine of the West is not your friend. It serves one purpose: to protect their interests, not ours. I once heard a young journalist on a Burkina program say, "People are starving in North Korea." I wondered, has this journalist ever set foot in North Korea? Has he investigated anything? Or is he simply repeating the stories sold by imperialist media? Listen to me. North Korea, for all the stories they tell, is a nuclear power. It's more developed in certain areas than many European nations. Yet they tell you it's a land of starvation, dictatorship, and misery. Why? Because they fear any country that refuses to kneel before them. Make no mistake, their goal is to divide Africa, to make us distrust each other, to keep us forever dependent. When African nations begin to rise, the media attacks like wild dogs. They will call our leaders tyrants, our movements illegal, and our dreams foolish. Why? Because a united and self-sufficient Africa is a threat to their power. But we must not fall for it. We must tell our own stories, with our own voices. We must dismantle their lies and expose the tricks they've used for generations. Youth of Burkina Faso. Youth of Africa. Our time is now. We cannot wait for anyone to hand us freedom or development. We must banish cowardice. We must banish incompetence. We must banish betrayal. And we must rebuild the character of our people. History is watching us. When we are gone, our children and grandchildren will look back at this moment. Will they say, "Our parents fought for us," or will they curse us for leaving them in chains? Let me be clear, there is no peace without development, and there is no development without peace. If our youth have no jobs, no industries and no future, they will be pulled into violence and chaos. Where there is hunger, there is instability. Where there is no security, businesses cannot grow. The two are tied together. This is why our fight must be twofold: and develop our countries, build industries, process our raw materials here in Africa so our people benefit first, defend our countries, secure our borders, our towns, and our resources from those who seek to steal them. We must return to production. Africa is not poor. Our soil grows everything. Our lands are rich with gold, oil, cobalt, and every mineral the modern world depends on. But we dig the wealth from our soil and ship it away for pennies, only to buy it back at a price we cannot afford. This must end. We must produce and transform our raw materials locally. Imagine if Africa refined its own oil, manufactured its own smartphones, and built its own cars. We wouldn't need to beg anyone. Other nations know this truth. That's why they work so hard to keep us divided and dependent. Young Africans, don't just scroll through your phones. Don't waste your time on gossip and meaningless trends. Use the internet to learn, to build, to create. Read books on African history. Study technology. Learn how to grow food, start businesses, and innovate. Be the generation that rises above incompetence. When you work hard and gain knowledge, no one can take your dignity from you. Competence is power. We talk about freedom, but what is freedom if we are still tied to the decisions of foreign powers? What is freedom if every major policy in our country depends on approval from the outside? True freedom is not given, it is taken, it is earned. I speak now to the older African leaders who are watching this or hearing my words. The people are patient, but their patience has limits. We know that many of you were compromised. You signed deals that hurt your nations because you were threatened or tempted. Stand before your people and tell the truth. Apologize for the past, and join this new movement for African sovereignty. The people will forgive you if you are honest and take action now. If you continue down the path of fear, history will not be kind. Cowards are forgotten. Betrayers are cursed. Our path forward is clear. Unite Africa. Not just in words but in action. Invest in our youth. Give them the tools to build industries, farms, and technology. Control our resources. No more selling Africa's wealth for scraps, and defend our lands. Every nation must be ready to fight for its sovereignty. A final word to the youth. The imperialists will try to distract you with entertainment. They will try to scare you with examples of leaders who fell. They will bribe you with quick money. But remember this: Africa is your home. If you don't build it, no one will. Work while you are young. Plant your seeds. The harvest will come. This is not just about Burkina Faso. This is about every African nation, from the Cape to Cairo, from Dakar to Mogadishu. We must all rise together. I leave you with this truth: Africa's future is in our hands. No one will save us. No one will give us the freedom we seek. We must produce, we must unite, and we must defend our future with everything we have. The fatherland or death, we will win.